Hey everyone, welcome to another video. This is my April favorites. And if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Irit. I'm a watercolor and mixed media artist, and on this channel I mostly talk and paint with and about watercolors. So I hope you will decide to join us, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. I would love to know what you're into or what you were into during the month of April. So full disclosure, I had somewhat of a creative block or rut or whatever you want to call it during April. I probably painted the least during this month than I have in the last year. So well done me. Not great, but I thought it would be just more fun to paint and talk about my favorites. There aren't a lot of new products here, but I just thought it would be more fun to paint and talk about painting than just show products. So everything will be listed below, the colors I'm using, the products I'm using, and if I miss something, then please leave me a question, and I do my best to answer all questions. So don't worry about like shade names and everything. Whatever I can remember, I will write down. And there's no other way I feel than like getting over a block than to just sit down, start painting. And for me, you know, for some people it might be exploring new things. For me, it's usually just going for the like foolproof products that I love and have used many times. I did switch things around a little bit, at least in my book. I know for most of you it'll probably look like I'm doing similar things to what I usually do, but I did try to go for like a tighter composition here. So there's less background space and kind of my loose abstract florals take more real estate on my page, which, yeah, I just find that I tend to like my paintings a little bit cropped when I'm done. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll just start with the cropping and kind of zoom in a little bit on my usual composition. And I roughly sketched with my beloved Neocolor one, yes, you guessed it, 5 abstract florals. And the point at this stage for me is to establish the general composition with paying attention not to have kind of straight lines. So you can see that kind of the center area of my flowers they are kind of spread around my page and they don't really line up. So that's something I try to keep in mind as I paint because it just makes for a more interesting composition. And then I also try to create some sort of variation. So some flowers will just have more details and then others less. You know, usually the big ones tend to just have more going on, and then I'll have a few that are more less, that are just less, have less of everything, less lines, less colors, less details, less of everything. Again, this makes things interesting. Personally, I find that a lot more appealing to look at and kind of interesting to see what is different. I don't find it particularly appealing when I see a painting, including my own paintings, of course, that have like 3 flowers or 5 flowers that look exactly the same. That's not interesting. So those things I try to establish now at this stage and kind of build on them and, you know, add more detail where needed and so on. I love using the Neocolor one because they resist watercolors, and that really allows me, with the way that I like to paint, it allows me to explore color mixtures and kind of avoid puddles of watercolor. When I started painting in a more like loose and fluid way, traditionally what I've seen other artists do is usually you start with like a first wash. There's a lot of color moving around. It looks really lovely, and you know, it works amazingly for some people. For me, it didn't work. What usually happened is I had this first wash, lots of colors mingling, and then it would dry and I wouldn't know what to do with it, or it would be too light and anemic that it wasn't really exciting to go into, or it would be already too, not like dark, but have a lot of like medium values, and then you kind of struggle to find the light. So yeah, that didn't work for me, and I just found and developed a process that does work for me. And a part of it is using the Neocolor one and using that resist, because it kind of confines my colors to certain areas and keep things from moving around. Now, another aspect of that, or another way that helps me avoid just like puddles of watercolor that moves around everywhere, is using the right brush. And this has also been a somewhat of a transition. I usually like, okay, what I like now, let's not get into history. What I like now is to use a large brush that has these kind of synthetic fibers. So usually they are either orange or white, and they don't hold as much water as the like darker synthetic fibers that imitate more of like squirrel natural hair and tend to hold a lot of water. So again, that's just what works for me. And this particular brush is still my favorite, my go-to, especially with this size. If I paint larger, I move to the Big Mama that I've talked about in previous videos, but this one is kind of a medium size. It has the perfect type of bristle, the perfect size of brush, and the perfect length of bristles that allows me to put down a nice amount of pigment and color. But also you will see as I continue to paint, when it's drier and I use it with a different ratio, so more pigment, less water, I can really create not like super, super fine lines. For that, I still have other brushes that I prefer, but you'll see, I can create pretty fine lines with this. So it's a real kind of workhorse, all-rounder brush, and I still love it, and I still reach for it before I reach for my other brushes these days. Okay, so the flowers, the watercolors, let's talk about that a little bit. The colors that I'm using are from the April color story. No, sorry, the May color story. I don't feel like I have completely, how can I say this word in English? Mitziti, that's in Hebrew. I feel like there's more I could have done with the April color story, so I might just go back to it. Especially I really enjoyed the mixtures of the kind of yellows and oranges with the cobalt violet, which I haven't included in this color story. So I might go back to that one or add cobalt violet to this month's color story. But I do really love all the colors that I picked. A lot of them are kind of, you know, good friends who are very familiar with each other. And yeah, it's just the combination that allows for color exploration. And it's just like freedom to me, because I don't really have to think about which colors to bring in as I'm painting. The process is really organic and free. And I just kind of have kind of go-tos. So if I want to add dark, I know I'm going to go with the Zoisite or Moonglow. If I want neutrals, then I have a lot of options here, because I have purples and yellows that neutralize each other, and I have pinks and greens that neutralize each other. So it's very easy for me to mix those neutrals, and I can just focus on yeah, mixing colors that I love. And I hope you saw in the close-ups, and I'll add the close-ups again at the end of the video. You can really take a look at these beautiful colors and just the complexity of the mixtures, because there are granulating colors and separating colors included here. I just love that. To me, it just makes, it's just magic. And if I'm not excited about the colors that I'm putting down, then I'm not going to enjoy my painting. And if I do love the colors that I put down on my paper, then usually I find I can get away with a lot of things, like maybe my composition is not perfect, or yeah, other things are not perfect, but if the colors are there, I'm happy. So that's really one of the kind of, it's a deal breaker, right? And if the colors are working, then it's all good. So yeah, my florals, as you can see, are very, very pink. And I'm just mixing all kinds of pinky, corally shades, and then trying to add a bit more warmth to the center of the flowers. This was fun. What can I say? It's always fun to go back to a safe place. But still, there's always a little bit of exploration. There's always something new to discover. And yeah, just play around. And the addition of other products is very much thanks to the Use It or Lose It series, which I will have a new episode coming either, I don't know, before this video comes up or soon after, focusing on pencils and graphite. And I didn't include anything in this painting, but I might combine it. I'm not sure. We'll see. Probably, because a few things were fun to use. What I absolutely loved, and that takes me back to other monthly favorites, was the addition of some oil pastels and the addition of the oil stick, which I have used also off camera a few times, not as much as I would have liked. And I absolutely adore that product. I kind of wish they came just, you know, that I could buy a set, like I have my oil pastels, that I could just buy a set of oil sticks to add also accents, and not just have like those big sticks for the background. So for me, I would be happy to have like a few accent colors in smaller portions, and then maybe just the antique white, which is definitely my favorite from the colors that I picked up. I'll be using it later in the video. That one, okay, I probably need a bit more product if I'm going to use it as my background, but yeah, I would love to have the oil sticks because they just dry and they are permanent once dry, whereas the oil pastels never dry. So I don't know, I tried to spray something with some sort of like a painting that I had oil pastels on. I tried to spray it with some sort of varnish, but yeah, I don't think it didn't work. So I'm thinking varnish is not enough. I guess varnish is more like a, you know, a sealant and protective layer and not a fixative. So I'm going to have to search, but I went to the art store a while back and I didn't really see a fixative for oil pastels. So if you have like specific recommendations and you're in Europe, I would really appreciate it. I guess I just have to go to the art store again and pay more attention. These are to me like the kind of boring stuff that you can buy, you know, like fixative. That's so boring. I mean, the fun part are all the colors. So yeah, but some things are needed, and I do love the effect of oil pastels. You will see that also in the close-up. It's just so painterly, and it just complements the watercolors so much, and it actually works so well for my process because I don't have to wait for watercolors to dry. I can just go in with the oil pastels and it's magic. So here I thought I would add a few kind of lines I want to say detail. I want to say like brushwork, but it's not a brush, it's a pencil. And the fun thing about this is that because some of the paint is still wet, I can drag some of the watercolors with my pencil. And this is not a water-soluble pencil, but you could absolutely use a water-soluble pencil. And it just gives you an interesting effect that I enjoy. It kind of drags a little bit the watercolor and it looks really pretty. The point of this is just to add a bit more detail. I didn't go all in. I could have probably added more, but I wasn't really sure. I think I kind of need to let things dry and then probably add also some detail, but I can see kind of at the base areas of the florals, or, you know, just around the perimeter of them in some areas, I definitely want to add, like looking now at the screen, add darker values just to give it more contrast and interest. But in the meantime, I can play with color. So I'm also using this Pastel Pencil, which is a Stabilo Carbothello. These are fantastic. They're beautiful. I was talking about this in my Use It or Lose It episode about charcoal, that this kind of has the same experience, you know, like painting with this kind of chalky, dry product, but the pastel, the like hard pastels, have these fantastic colors that charcoal doesn't have. So obviously this is a personal preference thing, but right now I'm more drawn to the bright colors of the pastel pencils as opposed to the muted colors of charcoal pencils, but it's kind of a similar feel. Okay, bring in the oil pastels. So much fun. The colors I'm using are the colors that I actually mentioned in the last month's favorite. I have this beautiful violet color from, that one is actually a Caran D'ache pastel. And then this gorgeous, gorgeous blue is from Sennelier, and it is just glorious. It's basically the pigment, if memory serves, is ultramarine blue and a bit of white and a bit of purple. And the color is just perfection. And I, for some reason, really like to add pops of this color in the middle of my florals. I think the reason I like it is because my florals a lot of times have in this area where I added the blue kind of coral colors, so really warm pinky orangey colors, and they are complement to blue, kind of. It's not a perfect complement because I think they both lean a little bit pink, but I really love, my color cravings really enjoy seeing these next to each other. Okay, add this gorgeous yellow. This is kind of a Naples yellow. I'll check the exact name and list it below, but I just love it. You could add accents with kind of a stronger yellow, but I really like this buttery soft yellow. And again, it's a good combination with the purples in my painting because these colors really let each other pop or help each other pop. And I do like to add just a touch of dark Moonglow to the center of my florals, which I already have done in this painting. Okay, so I have this new gold that I picked up at the art store. Excuse me. And I thought it would be fun to use. So I'm also adding a little bit of that. It's just a pleasure to work with these on top of watercolors, and the watercolor can be dry or wet. It doesn't matter. The oil pastels just go on so smoothly, so perfectly. They push the water away. And yeah, it's a very smooth process, which is really important to me. And you can see that I try to find products that work for me. So for example, you know, you could do a resist with masking fluid, but that means you have to wait for it to dry, then you have to remove it, all those things. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. So I much prefer to use the Neocolor ones when I start painting as my resist, and that also gives me color options, and I don't feel the need to remove them, so I'm fine with it. Okay, let's get into the oil stick, and I did use it in another painting for a background, and I really love it. I love that combination of the painterly oil pastel or oil paint look next to the watercolors. It's such a lovely combination, and I also have to say that I haven't seen a lot of people use these two products in this way. I'm sure I haven't invented the wheel here or anything, but kind of, you know, creating these florals with watercolors and then painting the background with oil stick. I haven't seen anyone do that, so I'm very proud of myself for my originality. And it's all good, you know. I don't see myself like pulling out acrylics and brushes or oils and brushes. Maybe I will. I mean, maybe someday I'll be less lazy. One can only hope. But for now, this is a really fun addition to my selection of go-to products. So you see, I don't have a lot of background to work on here, but I can still add a little bit of this color, and I do feel that it adds kind of warmth and richness to the background, as opposed to the somewhat stark white. I mean, I do like white. It's all, you know, it's always changing. Some days I'm more into this look, some days into that, and just keeps changing. Sorry about the hectic camera work there, but can we all appreciate just the beauty of all these different mediums playing together on this piece of paper? Look at that gorgeous granulation. That is mostly zoisite, the magic of zoisite. Try that color. It's incredible. Hello, pretty pinks. And oh, so pretty, so pretty. That's what I wish for you, to be so excited about the colors you put on your paper. So I hope you will take the time and find those magic colors that make your heart sing. What is going on today? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in another video. Take care. Have a great day. Bye bye.